All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the little webinar today. And right now we are expecting more participants to join us more. So yeah, we will be ready to start this webinar soon. Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the little webinar today. And I think we mostly have everyone here, but yeah, we still have more seats to join us the webinar today. And yeah, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are right now. And first of all, I would like to encourage you to turn on your camera so that we can create better connections and engagement during this webinar. Yeah. Right. And well, it's such a great pleasure for me to be here and to have this opportunity to welcome all of you to our last webinar this year, hosted by Language Institute, Thammasat University, or LITU. My name's Kitipat Turisaiviras, and I am currently a part-time lecturer and a doctoral student at LITU, and I am the MC for this webinar today. I will be with you throughout this event. Right. Okay. And the topic of the webinar today is citation practices. Who are you citing and why do you cite them and not others? Before we continue, please allow me to make a few announcements. First, please be informed that this webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel named Language Institute, Thammasat University. And second, after the speaker has finished the talk, which lasts about 1 hour and a half, we will have a Q&A session. So please use the Zoom chat box and we will select your questions and have our speaker answer your questions during the Q&A time. Lastly, I would like to address a very important issue for all of you here. We are delighted to tell you that we will provide an e-certificate for everyone who is attending this webinar. Therefore, you will need to complete the evaluation in all sections after the Q&A session. The request of the certificate is included in the evaluation form. We will send you the link and we will display the QR code for you as well. Not to worry, I would like you to enjoy our webinar first and I will remind you about this later. All right. And now I would like to give the virtual platform to our invited speaker. He is a lecturer at the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Science at Kasetsart University, and he will be giving us a talk on the topic of citation practices. Who are you citing and why do you cite them and not others? Please join me in welcoming Assistant Professor Dr. Attapol Khamkhien.
Hello, morning everyone. And it's okay that we can start the webinar. Okay, my talk is about the citation practice. Let me share the slide first. So as you can see that the titles of my talks is about the citation practice, but I would say that most of us as academicians or the researcher, we do a lot of research and we write a lot, everything in the academia, and then we think that actually for the citation is just one of the important elements in the writing composition, because we have to cite to show that something that we are relevant to our studies or relevant to our work. And then we have so many practices like format about the APA styles or MAR style. But I would say, I would like to say that I'm not going to talk about that kind of format because it's available on any resources that you can see from, on the internet or even your handbook or in your manuals. But what is my concerns is about the citation practice, something that we should think about when we teach or when we write by ourselves. And then it's about the functions that we can find from the citation when we read, when we try to interact with the text and the reader, something like that. So that is come to my talk today. Okay, so now before I go to the details about the citation practice. So this is just a simple questions about the citation. So what do you think that why we have to, why we as a writer have to use a citation? Can you just simply, put your answer in the chat box first? Why do we have to cite, to do the citation? Just an easy question. Trustworthiness. Yes. Thank you, อาจารย์จงรักนะคะ Is it quiet? Is it quiet? Yes, yes, because of, as we have to write something, yes, give the credits to the authors to support our peers. Yeah, right. To support our peers, because we have to, for example, like if we do some just if you to our points, yeah. If we do some introductions and we need some justifications about the propositions or the information that we are writing, yes, to support. Yeah. What else? Acknowledgement, yes. Yeah. To say something that is existed in the literature and to thank them that they have some information provided to us and lead to our writing or lead to our topics, right? Validate the strand, yes. And it's lead to the credibility, right? Plagiarism avoiding, yes, for sure. To elaborate topics, yes, to elaborate more and to feel somehow to fulfill the gap that we are talking the topic that we are talking about, right? So yeah, it's very easy. Yeah, you can see that this is just the common reasons that why do we have to use citation or do the citations all the time when we write our text to substantiate our claim. Yes, it's like you acknowledge someone and then you try to elaborate them and to substantiate why is lead to our work and is is kind of support to each other in field as well. So this is just a simple reasons of why we have to do the citation. Yes, like you say, that is about the acknowledgement to the articles, because we cannot do the topic or the work without any information or any support from the previous research or the previous work. So we cannot create a new thing or the new information by ourselves all the time. So that's why we have to acknowledge them and avoid the plagiarism at the end. And the what things that let me see the chat again to tackle like authors talk. Yes, yeah. This is just the alignment in the field, right? Inform the updated publication. Yes, I can see Ajanto because some of the journal right now, I think they require that we have to cite some references or some information that all the published things that not more than 5 years ago or something like that. So to see that what's new in the information or what is going on in the literature or what is going on in the field or something like that. So that's why that we need to keep updated about the reference and our citations as well in our work. So for this kind of reasons, yeah, it's like a justifications. It's like to show your first familiarity with the literature, and you are the expert, one of the expert in the field, and the one who is like you say that to try to keep updated all the time in the literatures and in the field as well. And the last one, yes, if the reader like to go further, to go into the deep details about something that they would like to see, or they would like to, to see more information, so they can go to the reference list as well. I mean, in terms of the in-text citations, and then, out of the citation, and again, like a reference list. And the last one, that's this big topic about the avoid the plagiarism. But I will not talk about the plagiarism like in the deep detail, because for the topics of plagiarism, I think a very little webinar at Louise. She talks about the plagiarisms and several types of plagiarisms and the way that we can do our student works of plagiarism in that way. I think that is the first sessions of this webinar series provided by Litu. So you can go to the Litu website or Litu YouTube, and then you can see the this kind of topic about the plagiarism on that talk. Okay, so now you know well about the reasons of the citation. So what to reference here? Yes, we do the reference. For example, when we need to do the when we need to use direct quotes or direct quotations from the other authors to support your claim, to justify the reasons, or to establish something or some information in the field. Yeah, maybe you can do the quote. But the quote here, we have two kinds of quote. Let me talk about this later. I mean, like short quotes and the long quotes. Okay, but I would say that for the article journals or research articles here, in publishing the journal, we cannot sometimes, most of the time, I would say, we will not do the long quote, but we try to use we will use the short quotes instead. But for the thesis or for the dissertation, maybe this kind of quote, long quotes can be allowed to do. Okay, and to avoid the plagiarism, yes, we do the citation as a paraphrase format. Why I have to say that paraphrase format here? Even though that you do the when you cite some references, you have to restatement and you have to use it. You have to use that kind of information in your own words with your own ideas as well. So you can incorporate your ideas and your thoughts and your feeling somehow in order to interact and to show that how you think about that text or that information in your paraphrase statement or in your paraphrase text as well. And don't forget that you need to do the reference. You need to do the citation or provide the reference here, because you are using someone else thoughts and someone else information, something like that. And the next one is about the summary. So I would say that the paraphrasing and summary skills are somewhat different, because when you do the paraphrase, you add the idea, but once you do the summary, you use the idea from someone else directly, but just only in your own word, or maybe you shorten the text, and that's so maybe this is your text summary maybe shorter than the original one, but it's different from it's different from the paraphrase text. Okay, and the next one is about the data or the charts and graphs or illustration, any illustration. So if you use the author's research findings, and if you want to refer to some chart or the graph, or even some taxonomy or the classification provided by the scholars in the field, so you have to give the credit to them as well. That and say it's like it's like a side post as well, that you are using them in your work, and it's not from your own, it's not from your own reference, it's not for your own information, or it's not for your own finding, but you are using them to do it like in the methodology in your research or something like that. So you need to, once you refer to it, you need to give the credit to this kind of these peoples as well. And what about the fact? I think I myself as well, I think most of you as well, the fact that here, maybe you can think about the common things or the common statements or any kinds of information like the world is round, the earth is round, or something like that. Yes, we don't need to do the citation in that case. But once you are not sure about the facts or something that you think is maybe it's difficult to talk about, or is needed something that is in question or is in doubt. So you can provide you have to provide the citations as well. Okay, and the next one of these things about you what to reference is about your own paper, because not just only to avoid your plagiarism, but you need to avoid your self-plagiarism as well. I mean, this is because most of the journals or most of the publishers right now, the will do the will use, for example, the tools like Turnitin, or any tools that can refer to can trace back to any references or your citation. And then once you cite, if you do the self-plagiarisms and without any citations, or the you do the citation from your own paper, so it can be in the case like the plagiarisms as well. And that's why we need to do the citation with this case called paraphrase, summary, information from the chart, the graph, or even to your own paper. Once it's published, once it's online, once it's available to the public, so you have to do your own, you have to do the citation. Okay. I think I talked about this one already. So the thing that we don't have to cite here is about the common knowledge, like the statement George Washington was first US president. So I think in this case, everyone knows about this fact, and this fact is no doubt because we already know it, and it's it's in terms of the availability. So this kind of information is not hard to see, or is everyone accept it like it's a fact. But what about the other things that you don't have to cite here? It's about your own findings, like the findings from the observation or the findings from your experiment. So in this case, if you discuss your research or your research finding from the observation, you can do it. But if you want to relate some information or relate this kind of finding with the other knowledge, yes, that thing you have to do citation. But from the the data or the information that you get from the observation directly, you can put it in the text. But just give some kind of reference that what times or what year that you observe of the findings that you observe from the observation, that's okay. Okay, and your own experience as well, if it's not published somewhere elsewhere, so you can put it in the text freely without any citation. Some thoughts, and again, if it's related to some kind of information that exists in the literature, you have to do the citation. Comment on the conclusion that you think about yourself, and it's from the observations of the experiments or from your research finding, so you can do it. Okay, but if you want to compare it with the artworks or with the previous studies, so you have to do the citation, unavoidably. And the last one, once you do the evaluating or offering your own analysis, again, this is from the findings, like if you teach your student to write thesis or to write essays or to write the some report, research report or something like that. So you can ask them to evaluate and encourage them to offer some new insight about something that generated from the work. Is okay. So in that case, you can do it. But if you want to relate this kind of thing with the other previous work, you have to do the citation. So in this case, it means that it's come to our concerns about evaluating and offering our thoughts and ideas again, because later on in my talk, I will talk about how to use the verb and reporting verb here that can contribute the values of the evaluations and the offering things in the text as well. Okay. Sorry. And the problem issues here that might arise in terms of the citation. Once we do the citations or once our students do the citation. So sometimes I would say that we are not sure about this kind of things or the information text can lead to the concepts of plagiarism or not. And like I said previously or earlier, if you are in doubt about the information, or if you are not unsure about the information, or if you like to research more to further more about the idea, so you can do the citations as well. And again, once you get the idea from the articles and you paraphrase it, or you may summarize it, you have to think that the text that we already paraphrase can lead to the plagiarism. Again, this is because once you use your own word, but we just change, the structures of some words in the statements or in the position, it can lead to the concepts of plagiarism as well. So in that case, it's like, yeah, it's about the difficulties in the paraphrases and summarizing skill, and that's why in terms of the pedagogy, we have to teach these kinds of things like paraphrasing and summarizing to our students as well. Why we have to do paraphrase, like sometimes it's not just change the word, it's not just change the structure from the active to the passive construction, but we need to do something like add more the ideas or evaluate the text or evaluate the statements as well. That is very hard from our students. It's very hard from I myself as well sometimes, because we have to read a lot. We have to read the numbers of text, and we have to get more information in order to crystallize the ideas when we do the paraphrase. We do the paraphrase and when we do the summary as well. Okay, and the last one's about the difficulties of the paraphrasing and summarizing skills is that, like I say, that we have to do the evaluations and we have to give some comments on the ideas in the text. So somehow the text that we are writing up, or the word that we are writing up here, can lack some stance. The stance here is like a position, and this is the right position in a way. Why we as a reader, we need to see how the writer think about the text, what the positions of the writer is when we read the text, and how they interact with the reader, what information that the writer needs the reader to get from that text, for example. And that's kind of things, when we teach the paraphrasing skills and summarizing skills, we need to teach these kind of things about the writer's style to our students as well. When we do the text as well, when we write some text, yes, we have to put our idea in the text too. Okay. So another question about the citations here is that as long as I cite, it's okay to use someone else's word, right? So what do you think? Yes or no? It's okay to use someone else's words as long as I cite already. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. Like I say, that it depends on the text. It depends on the things that once we paraphrase the information from that statement already. So if the text is over reliance on the source, yes, it can lead to the plagiarism. Okay, and this idea I got it from Ajahn Lutz in her talk about the plagiarism. And the words, once you change some words and the structure in the text, so maybe it can lead to to the plagiarisms as well. If the text or if the verse is very close, it's very close to the original text. And yes, the last one's about the image, pictures, or the illustration. In my case, I'm writing up textbooks, and I have to use the image and photos from, maybe previous work of someone. So I have to ask or request permission from him or her, from the authors as well, in order to avoid, the terms in terms of the copyright. Because otherwise you have to draw it by yourself, and that's kind of things is about you. If you use it without any permission, so it can be the copyright. It can be the case of copyright violation. Okay, so in this case, if you want to avoid this kind of problem, again, do the citation. Okay, do the citation. The next one. So now, when we, in terms of the citation practice, I would say that in the literature we have so many terms and so many typology and the classifications about the citation. But the first thing that is like an influential one that we use when we describe or when we teach the citation practice to our students is from Swell's research, from Swell's study. So Swell proposed that when we do the citation, we can classify into two types. The first one is integral citation, and the second one is non-integral citation. So what does this mean here by the integral and non-integral citation? For the integral one, it means that you put the name and the cited the names of the cited authors in the text, into a text, so that you can acknowledge him or her. You can use them. You can use it to support your claim, but you put the name and the years of publication in the text, right? But for the non-integral citation, so the names is not in the text, maybe in the parentheses or the footnote, and it means that this is outside the text. So you just acknowledge him or her that okay, it's already exists in the literature, but for this kind of patterns, is you can see it a lot when you try to do the paraphrase, and when you try to summarize the ideas from the author, non-integral citation. But I would say that these two types of the citation can lead to our understanding of something. I mean, if you do the integral citation, it means that you try to integrate the idea into text, the ideas of that person in the text. But non-integral citation, yes, again, you try to integrate them, but you give the importation, you put the importation or place the importance of the information first, and then give the credit at the end of the text. So it's not the same in that way. Okay. Apart from the Swell's typology or citation typology or classification here, Thompson and Triple in 2001 tried to elaborate more, expand more about the citation practice here, but use this based on the contextual functions of citation. So we take a look at more closeness about the onto the functions of the text or functions of the citation. So it's building on the Swell's thoughts and Swell's concepts about the citation. Yes, they talk about the integral citation, okay, and try to classify it. And I say that this is very important because you can see that with the integral citation and non-integral citation from Swell just talk about the pattern, like okay, you put the name and the cited author at the very beginning of the sentence, but non-integral citation, you put the names and the publication here at the end of the sentence, right? But for the Thompson's and Triple typology here of citation, so once you put the you do the citation in terms of the integral citation here, we can see, the functions from the first thing, verb controlling. So you see that, for example, here like in Highland, 2003, argued that the studies levels of students is among the factors that are related to learning preference. So it seems to me, or as a reader, once you want the writer put this in the text, Highland 2003 argued that. So it means that the writer think, well, that maybe, this kind of proposition from Highland, or this kind of information from Highland here can be some kind like, make argument from when comparing to the previous one that you already put in the text. And that's why you select the verb to argue here and put it in the text. So that's why, Thompson and Triple say that this is a verb controlling in the citation. And the verb itself can show you some functions and some, hidden meaning or underlying meaning here when you do the citation. And that's why we put important when we select the verb to do the citations as well. And we will show this later on. Okay. The next one, the second one is about naming. Yes, it's about the integral citations as well, like according to the 2001. So maybe you can put it at the very beginning of the sentence, right? Yet, according to the 2001, for example, and then despite its popularity. So you see that now it's not just, comparing to the verb controlling. Verb controlling, we put the names and the years of publication first. But for the second one, the citation uses as a noun phrase here, according to. So the function here and the once you use it as a noun phrase here, they have some kind like another patterns when you do the citation. And yes, again, from these two subtypes, that we can, in terms of application, we can encourage a student that yes, you can do, two types of patterns when you do the citation as well. Put the use a noun phrase first, or use a verb controlling in the citation. And the last one is about the non-citation. Non-citation here, yes, you just maybe you put or you state something about that citation already, or you do the citations of that person or that author already, like in 2001, blah blah blah, and then once you going on writing this, and you can say that according to spell without any publication here. Yes, it can do if you do the citation, or if you do this, if you refer to this person's earlier as well. When we do the citation with our ones as well. Okay, but what about the non-integral citation? Again, we got so many details about the patterns or the typology by looking at the subtypes here of the non-integral citation. The first one, source or attribution citation. Yes, when we use the word attribution citation, yes, this have to deal with the functions or the meanings of the meanings of some words in the citation, or the function of citation. For example, here, citation is used to indicate the ideas of the information that why you take this form, and what source that you take this kind of information in the text and put it in the text. Okay, for example, like learn and understand the message only by comprehensive input, blah blah blah. And yes, it means that you are using the concepts of the comprehensive input in the text, and that's why you take the idea from this one, right? from the Khamkhien in 1985. And this is, it's like you are identifying the source of the idea on information. Triple and Thompson and Triple say that this is, is a kind of non-integral citation. And the next one is about the origin. The origin here is like once you state about the origins of the theory, techniques, or the product, like what Smith tools. And I think most of you know best about what Smith, that is a corpus tool, right? For Scott. It's a corpus software, it's a corpus tool package that we can do so many things about the investigations of the words and the patterns, blah, blah, blah. So this kind of techniques are the products of theory. Yes, it's another citation form of the non-integral citation, right? And the next one, yes, and about the reference. But I think this one, when I think, when I put this as a, when I put it in the slides, like reference is mean that the words or the citation that refer to some source for further information. So I'm kind of reluctant that when I put the word the point to source, because the source here may be, overlapping with the origin. But I would say that, the keywords here is about the further information. For example, here, like you use the word see this person, this kind of author, this work for reference. CF or IE, for example, blah, 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 for further details. So you use it and use it to, to encourage readers or to ask the reader that if you have some more questions or if you like to look further into the details about this kind of information, you can go and see the, this is a reference here that I already provided, and you can see it by yourself. Okay, and this is another things about, this is another subtypes of the non-integral citation. And the last one is about the identification. So the identifications here is like, the particular, once you talk about the particular text or the research project here. So it's kind of very detailed. I mean, it can show you not just all you know about the research, but you know about what is inside in the field and what is the research project that already conducted in the field, and then maybe later on it can lead to your present study, or it can lead to your own text as well. So in this case, we are referring to report and to mention about the research project of authors, and you see some kind like a linkage or the comparisons or the relationship between the project and project as well. So what about this project use a male interviewer, and another project use an interview with a female interviewer. So it's kind of like if you are comparing and you are showing that, okay, in the research in previous research studies, you are talking about this kind of project and the methodology they use, and among these studies they use different types of the method when they get the information. So this is another kind of the non-integral citation. So you can see that it's very detailed here. But go back to this kind of idea, like I say, integral citation and the non-integral citation. What about the spell saying? Spell to talk about the patterns of these two citation patterns. Okay, but the Thompson and Triple, they received about the contextual functions of citation, and that's why we can differentiate the patterns of the citation with the functions of these citations as well. And in application, we can teach this kind of knowledge to the students and ask the student to do various pattern various pattern by thinking about the functions as well when they do the citation. Okay, Next is about the how do we size? Yes, like I said, I will talk about the quote later on, and here now I'm talking about the quotes. So the first one, once we do the citation, we can do it in the forms of the paraphrase. Yes, we put the other ideas in our words, in our own words, and sometimes we change the structure. Okay, but what about the direct quotes? And then yes, we use the word forward direct repetition, and put some refer songs at the end, right? Or maybe refer songs at the beginning. So here, this is like kind of the paraphrases. Like I say that if you need further information about the paraphrases or the pages, and you can go to the Attapol talk. Okay, but this is just in a nutshell, like from the original text here, blah blah blah. Tomlinson say this thing, and you got the ideas of paraphrase, and you can see that I try to use different words to change the word, but kind of grabs the ideas or grabs the information or conclude the things that Tomlinson said in his work, and encapsulate the idea here in my text with my own words. But for the what about the citing quotes here? So the quotation can be something like this with the same text, original text here from Tomlinson. You can once you think that this kind of thing, for example, the option for processes and internalizing the content and for constructing new learning in order to progress academically. I think that this is very important, and I use this in my code, my citing codes. Okay, another idea is that this is a short code, or maybe this is a short code, and once if you want to, if you think that the other things, the other instances in the information is very important, you can do it and change the chip from the citation, from your citing, from your citing clause here in the text as well. So that's why the code can help. And we do a lot of this kind of code in our thesis or in the dissertation or in the essays. It's okay, right? But what about the next things? And this is a short code. When we do the short codes here, we have to keep it, keep it as brief as much as possible. For example, just only one word or two words, like terminologies on things that you think this is very crucial in your work and it can support your information. Yes, you can do it, right? And don't forget that once you do you have to put the page number as well, okay? And what about the long quote here? The long quote, we do it in a separate line. Okay, when we do it in separate lines, and with the separate line here, maybe we have to indent, left or right. It depends on the format of your writing. But I would say that with these things, you have with the long quote, maybe and most of the case, I would say, you have to put or analyze something or synthesize a quote with your own word at the end. I mean, in the separate lines after the quote. And this kind of long quote, we say that is in the block. It's mean, once you indent the quote in the text already. So after this quote, you have to provide some evaluation, some of your information that you think you can criticize or analyze or the comments on the quotes as well. Why did you have to put this quote in your writing? Why you have to put this quote in the text? So that is, something that is different from short quote. So the short quote is like you try to incorporate, the author's idea words using some words or short words in the text. But for the long quote, once you put the quote here, you have to analyze it, and then you have to maybe comment on it or elaborate more about the ideas of this quote for the readers as well. And that's why this is the way that we incorporated the code in our text. Okay, and this is the techniques that we use when we do the code, when we incorporate the codes in our paper and our text. So the code here must be attractive. I mean, especially in terms of the long codes, because as a reader, why we have to spend time to read this code. So there might be, you know, some things of the something that is very important to the information or to the content that we are talking about. So it must attract reader interest. It must be useful for your work, for your writings as well. And the code, please make sure that it's accurate. Okay. Once, if you see that the course is quite long, so you can use the ellipses here. And I would say that, you know, this is maybe, you know, it's kind of contradictory in terms of the, you know, the writing practice. You put the 3 dots, dot, 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 3 dots with the, if you want to omit, if you want to, you know, exclude something from in your text, but you can use 4 dots, 4 dots. If you omit one sentence, for example, so a quite long sentence or quite long information, or maybe, you know, if you skip one paragraph, you can put 4 dots in the ellipsis here to make it shorter and to attract your reader. Do not spend so much time, and you just, you know, grabs the ideas about the quotation and show, you know, how you examine or how you criticize or how you analyze, how you think, what you think about the contents of this course as well. So you can use this, and you can use something like this. This is again, this is about the citation practice. That is the word according to, blah blah blah, basis on, right? In the in his article, blah blah blah, Marshall, like introductory phrases, like a buffering phrases, to lead information to your readers as well. That is the techniques that you can do the quote or do the citation. Okay. Now, I'll talk about the, like I say that once we do the citation, we have to select the verb, and the verb here must be related, or is related to information on the verb here. Like I said, like I use the word reporting verbs on the strong verbs here, can show you, can be signaling, can have a signaling function to the readers as well. Think about these verbs, for example, as explained, propose, study, investigate, suggest, assert, compound, sum up, and examine. So I think these kinds of verbs have, you know, different distinctive meaning for the writers and for the readers as well. I mean, once you put this verb in the text, so they can, you know, express different idea to the readers and express a different idea in the text as well, and how you interact the text with the readers. Okay, so can you just, you know, type it in the, can you just type it in the chat box about what is the 3 most of the verb that you frequently use in your writing? Okay, I'm not sure this. Okay, in the chat box, can you just, you know, type 3 verbs that you frequently use in your writing? You think about or use very often in your writing. 3 verbs. No matter in what situation, in whatever content. State, mention, review. State, mention, review. Yes. Review. Explain, thank you. Sunny, explain, thank you. Oh, by my mother, explain, thank you. Explain, investigate, explore, yes. Show, illustrate, indicate, yes. Argue, point out, maintain, yes. Mention, claim, state. Argue, assert, explain, yes. Claim, suggest, propose, state, a lot. Claim, suggest, propose, state, mention. Analyze, explain, elaborate, wow. Show, explain, like. Yes. Ajahn Chongla, can you help me explain why you say that why you use the word argue or when you use the word assert and explain? Can you help me, Ajahn Chongla? Ajahn Chongla, ask a question, recommend, yes. So you can see, right? Ajahn Chongla?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question properly. Can you ask it again?
Yes. Why you think when you use this kind of words here, argue, assert, explain? I think you have some kind like underlying reasons when you use these words.
I mean, from my point of view, after reviewing the literature,
yes,
I related those points from the review literature to my my point, and then try to argue for that point or against that point. And yeah, that's the reason why I use the word argue.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. What about the assert and explain? Assert and explain. So in short, it's like this is what I got from Ajahn Chongla. So he will see the points that maybe ongoing debate or something like contradictory information in the literature review, and then they try to he tried to incorporate maybe the first idea and the second idea, but the second idea is try to show the some kind like argument from the second from the first to the first one, something like that. But what about the word? For example, this is from my understandings and the terms of citation practice as well, like the word explain. For example, if you specifically in the literature review or in the introduction, if you state something, if you quote something, cite something, some information, and someone you think that this kind of person or this kind of writer, elaborate more the ideas and get more the ideas about the the knowledge, and then give some support, and this can be the support of your information. You can use the word explain or elaborate, like I can see from some of the participants here in the chat box, and then that is the way that we use the word explain, right? And again, for examples, like you like in the chat box, I can see the word recommend. For example, if you use the word recommend here, it means that it's like you have a new, for example, in the literature, we have so many classifications of, so many terminologies, and these terminologies have some, different aspect or different perspectives in terms of blah, blah, blah. But for these persons, for this author, he recommend that why we use this thing, and we can use the word recommend and suggest, because we see that yes, it's very crucial, and then that's maybe at the end it can lead to our work or our research as well. That is the way that we use the word recommend. And there was the word question. Yes, it's very interesting. Like you can see, some contradictory points of the things, of one thing, of one information. And yes, it's maybe in doubt or under explore, for example, in the in the literature. So that's why you select the word question to when you cite this information in the text, right? So in this case, it means that from the list that you like, just only 3 words here that you use more as a recap. I myself think about as a reader, think about can see that the functions, or once you put this word in the text, yes, the meaning that we as a reader can get as an idea from the writer, and that is the way how we interact with the writer through the text that we already do the citation or through our writing. Okay, so this is just this is just the list of some words or some verbs that we can do it in our writing or in our literature, in our work, in our research work, blah blah blah. So once you in terms of the application, you can use this kind of you can show that this work to teach our students or our advising to use different kinds of verb. But think about that, it's not just only the selection, or you need to be selective when you do the verb and when you select the verb, because this verb contain the ideas and contain the meaning that can explain it differently through your text as well. Okay, and next, this is the newest one, I think. In the literature is about a citation, a work from Harlan and Jing in 2019, 2019 to here. This work, in this research, Harlan and Jing try to investigate the chains of the citation, or the diachronic change through 50 years of the citation of the strong verbs here. Okay, and I think in that research, they look at the verb and the citation practice in the past like 50 years, and then one of the aspects that they take a look at here is about the reporting verbs, and you can see that the word reporting verb, that how the reporting verb in the writer used in the past and nowadays and at the present quite changed here. You can see that in the past they use the word show, find, describe, point out. So it's quite in my term, in my own words, it's like academic writings maybe it's quite dry, because there's such maybe you say that the author say this and this writer say that, this writer, this work show that, this writer find that, this work is find blah blah blah. So it's just one-way direction, one-way communication. But next, you can see some verbs that emerge here, like propose, right, identify and note. So now the commentary that's arises here on the thought that arises here is about is that not just showing about the writer put something, just show something or say something, but the writer can comment something in the text as well, to interact with the reader, so to interact with the potential readers, if they can notice what the meaning behind, what the underlying meaning is here. But obviously, I would say that obviously in the 2015 here, the word argues, come first, propose, introduce, right, and discuss here, emerge here. So this kind of findings can show that you can see the word propose and the word describe, right? Still in the 50 years of citation practice, I would say, still in our main practice when we do the citation, but the word like argue, document, observe, and suggest just enter in the list, and this means that nowadays the text is not dry. I mean, in the research articles or in the journal, it's not dry anymore. You have to interact with something. You have to show something. You have to express something in text as well, not just show or express about the fact or the something that explicitly explicitly seen or explicitly viewed in the findings, but you need to comment on it. You need to suggest the idea on it as well. Okay, and we'll discuss here. Just leave in the preference, because you can see that from the in the past, like in 1965, comparing to they were discussed here that Dr. in 2015. So this can show that the activities or research activities in terms of the citation practice change over time as well. Okay. Now, as we have seen that the reporting verbs here have some meaning, and the way that the writer use the verbs is different, differently in that text can show and express some meanings here. Again, the Highland, he point out, and he proposed that when we use the verbs, it means that the writer has some evaluations, some comments when selected that each particular verb in that text. Okay, and this verb, what he calls is evaluate, has the evaluative meaning or evaluative verbs here, and the verb can be can show or express its positive meaning, like the word acknowledge, points out, extent. Like a Zhang like to say that once that we see the word argue, for example, can show the positive or any negative if you see something like contradictory or something that's opposed to the previous one that you already mentioned, for example. And what about apart from the positive meaning? So some verbs can show the negative meaning, and some verbs can express the neutral ideas or neutral meanings, but they have no signal, no clear signal in the text as well. And again, this kind of meaning, not just about the verb, but it's maybe from the we can get the meaning from the contextual environment. Once we use this in the context, so they can get we can see the meanings, and the meaning can change in that way. For example, like the word belief. If you say that I strongly believe, this can be it can be the positive one or negative one, or it can be the tentative one, because but the psychologically the word believe have some possibilities of tentative meanings as well. The word suggest, if you have some strong belief, or if the writer has a strong claim, so maybe this can be, it depends on the on the context that the writer uses in the context as well. And this is a way that we have to be aware of when we do the citation, or when we select the citations as well, because it can show how the writer, how we as a writer evaluate the text. Okay, or think of the text as well. Now come to the last things about the citation practice, and this is an exit in the literature, because citation is not just the format. It's not just the format. It's not just the way things that we have to do. Like I think at the beginning of my of the session, some of you to say that we do the citation because this is required. Yes, it's required, right? It's required, and then. This is because in academia we have to establish, we have to give the credibility and avoid plagiarism, and this kind of things, right? And it's come to the citation practice here because we can see that in the literature, once the citation practice, you talk about this, that we do it in academia, and yes, in the past nowadays, I think they have some that looking at the how the professional writers, especially in the research article, do the citation. Like, for example, like the work from Highland and Jiang in 2019 here. They look at the citation from the research articles in 50 years past. Okay, they see how the verb change and what the pattern change once the time change. Okay, and how the professional writer, do the citation in the research articles. And again, in the literature, we can see that once we have to teach the student to do the citation in their text, so they some of the work try to compare the L1 and L2 student writers as well, how they use the citation in their text, and how we can see the similarities and differences as well between these two groups of students. And the next one that you can do, the idea that you can do with the citation research is about the challenges that the actual student experience when integrating sources in their text. So in this case, the aspect that you can do with the citation. So you can take a look or investigate in how it's integrated in the text or the pattern. And what about the presentation, right? So the pattern and structure and the frequency, how the way that these groups of writer use it, how it's frequent, or the way that you use it between the L1 and L2 writers. What about the reporting works? It's still with the meaning, okay? And the some of the studies, they conduct the study with the way the writer from different fields or different because of the factors like the disciplinary variation can have some effect on the way that we do the citations as well. So some of the researchers will take a look at the differences between the soft size and hard size, soft field and hard field, and to see the similarities and differences in terms of citation. And again, factors that they take a look at is about the experience of the writers, and it's about the genre as well, because some genre have the different types of different practice of the citations as well. And this is the ideas of the way that we do citation. Okay, and this is one of my research that I can't this is it's not published yet, but I can show you that this is what I am doing, and it's deal with the citation practice between the type students, L2 students, and the professional writers or the expert writers here. So I focus on the practices of the writers in the fields of in the research articles in the fields of applied linguistics. But for the students or L2 students here, because we have in my university, we have the course of the research writing course in English. And then at the end of the semester, the end product or the final product that we get from the student is the research report, the full research report, and it's contained the five core chapters like introduction, literature, method, resource, and discussion. This is like the patterns is like the research articles, and that's why I compared these two texts from these two groups. Okay, with these two groups, with the students writing and the professional student writers and the professional writers, and then I compared the corpus of these two corpora. The first one from the students with the 51 text, and after the cleaning, I got 304,000 words, blah blah blah. But for the research article, after cleaning process, the cleaning process here include like, remove the title, remove header, remove footers, remove the acknowledgement and references at the end or any appendix. So I got this kind of words approximately, okay? And these students enrolled in this course, and their research is about the English language studies and applied linguistics things. So to a certain extent, it can be, it can be compared in some extent. And I use the sketch engine as a corpus tool here, because the sketch engine can, I can upload and create and build this corpora to in the system, and then I use so many functions like a concordance line, the word list check, and the word sketch, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, I cannot go into the details about the corpus linguistics because I will focus on the citation instance. Okay, but the things is that the hardest parts of doing the sketch engine is that to check through the concordance line, and once I check it, I can find a lot of citation that the writer, these two group of writers use do the citation. I get so many, more than 25,000 lines. And once I narrow down, just only focus on the citations and the patterns that I use the format of the swells and the triple and the Thompson and triple. So I just limit, limit the citations. That's only got like 4,000 concordance line, and have to look through every instance line by line, concordance line of concordance here, line by line, to see the surface form. I mean the pattern structure, the structural form, rhetorical functions, and the writer stance, like I say. And the by this case, why I have some of you may think that it's very easy because we just check the numbers on the publication here, because it's most of them have most of the citations have to put the publication year on the page number when we do the citation. But it's not just only that. I would say it's not just only that, because some word, for example, like the word argue, like I say, you have to check not just the reporting verb, but maybe it can appear in the forms of nouns like argument. The word assumes can appear or occur in the forms of noun like assumption, and the word define that can be like definition. And like I say, you can see from the Thompson's triple that some of the page number or some the publication here can be omitted if the instance of if information is you mentioned it already, or the writer mentioned it already earlier or previously. So that's why we need to check it line by line in the concordance here, in the concordant function. And the writer here maybe change, like some people nowadays, they will not use the word the researcher, but they use the word I, they use the word we to refer to the researcher, to refer to the authors of the articles, or to refer to the writings as well. So that's why we have to search so many things that I think it's possible to cover the ideas about the rhetorical functions and the surface form and the writer's stance here. And in order to compare, to make a comparison possible here, because these two, the size of the size of each corpus is quite, relatively small and relatively different here. I have to do the normalized calculations here, and I use 1 million token to compare these two compare. And this is the way that I do. You can see that when you do the research in the site, in terms of the citation, for each aspect of it, for each perspective, with a surface form and the rhetorical function. For example, if you do this surface form, you have to think about the integral and not integral, and this means that you have to, investigated 2 times, but each time you have to look at each confidence line, and you can see that that's why I spent throughout the years to do this kind of investigation and this research. Okay, you can see that the formula that I put in the sketch engine so that I can get the way that to address each terms, to address each question like surface form and the functions, and the last one about the writer sense. Okay, this is from I think this is from the student corpus, and this is from the professional corpus, because I would say I have to check not just only the publication here, but sometimes it's created in some patterns. And this is what I do in my analysis. So from the from the patterns, yes, we do the integral and the non-integral citation. Apart from that, apart from the those patterns, I do the I try to classify the direct quotation, broad quotation, and summary here. So direct quotation and broad quotation here, the way that the things that I already explained is about the direct quotation, and we have a long quotation, long quotes, and the short quotes, right? But for Highland classification, from Highland citation categories here, he classified it. He classified the quotes into 2 terms: direct quotation and broad quotation. If you do the direct quotations, mean that you do like just some short forms or short quotes. But broad quotations is like a long quote. But for the summary, you do the paraphrase. Okay, the first 2, direct quotation and broad quotation, that you do it directly, you quote it directly. But for the summary and generalization, so for summary, you do the paraphrase, but with just only 1 source. But for the generalization, I limit this. This is like a synthesis, because in the research article, a lot of people, a lot of authors try to incorporate so many sources in one sentence, and that's we go to the terms generalization. So in this case, let me show you about this there. And once I analyze the corpus here, the patterns of the citation from the students, I got 898 citations instances. But for the research article, yes, that's a lot, 6,880 citation instances. For the broad quotation and the direct quotation, this is this example that you can see. You can see that I have I haven't seen any broad quotation like the long quotes in both student writing and the article writings. Wow. And you can see, even though we teach a lot about the quotation, that we have both short quotes and long quotes, but for the academicians, scholars, right, researcher, we don't often do, or we rarely do the broad quotation as a citation, but we do the summary and generalization and the direct quotation. So you can see that they are quite the same in terms of the summary. They use a summary, they use one citation instance of one author to support the idea, to claim the ideas, or to support information here, right? But once it's very surprising that the student do not do the generalization, and this may be hard for them. This may be hard for them because they have to integrate, so many resources in one sentence to support the idea in that writing. But for the researchers, for the professional writers, they do a lot, like 1,800 grams or something. Okay, that is in terms of the citation form. Okay, yes, both of us do the paraphrases or summary, but the for the professional writers, they do the generalizations as well. But for the student writers, they do the direct quotation. Okay, maybe it's easy for them, and that's why, you know, this is can be, you know, can come to that difficulty because they don't want, or they have some difficulty in synthesizing multiple sources. Okay, in terms of integral and not integral patterns or structure here. Okay, it's very interesting because it's this show the contrasting way in terms of the patterns. For the integral, most of the professional writers like to do the integral, like they incorporate it or put it at the very beginning. But for the students writer, they do the non-integral. But in the literature, Khamkhien in 2019, he or she say that with the non-integral forms or non-integral system, non-integral structures here, it just used to show or establish facts of information. I mean, most of the writers use non-integral to show the facts or establish things that exist in the literature. But for the students, they use it very frequently. But for the professional writers, they try to interact with the readers and try to incorporate with the reader and try to incorporate the facts or the things or the information in the instances in that text. So that's why they use the integral most. Okay, and the pattern that I found here is very interesting again, because it's like for the professional writers, they usually use, you know, passive construction, and that's why the pattern why with the authors and then the publication here occur most in research articles. But for the students, they use the word according to with the writer, author, and then a publication year. But for the published research or the professional ones, they according the pattern according to and the pattern verb and that cause is occur quite the same. But comparing to by with X or the passive construction, yes, it's occur more. And it's very interesting in terms of the structure, because it's like this in the literature, they see that the phrase like according to X or according to with the author, they see that this is like a teddy bear. This is like a lexical teddy bear because it's all you use. It's you know, it's ready to use. It's ready for the writer to use, and it's like a toolkit to for the reference and cite source. Okay, so that's why, you know, between the professional writers and the student writers are different. Okay, what about the reporting verbs here? Okay, what about the reporting verbs? The way that they use reporting verbs or the way they use the verbs in the citations is quite, you know, different again, because for the professional writers, they use the word find, and like I just want to say that the word argue comes very, you know, very in the first rank, okay, for the second rank here. But the student writer, for the student writers, they use the word study and the word stay. Wow. So that's why, you know, they are so much different in terms of this. And again, something that's quite similar between these two groups of students. They use the word show and find, and this thing is like a conversation in the literature, and it's you know, I think the students try to use something that what I teach or what the instructor or what that supervisor try to encourage them to use it in that text. So that's why, you know, these two verbs occur in the corpus. But for the in this way, we can say that, you know, the students writer have some kind like limitations or limit in the linguistic repertoires or the lexical repertoires as well, because for the professional writers, they use verbs that can show, you know, so many or various research activities in that text. And you can see, you know, the numbers of the numbers of the occurrences here that this is quite a difference here. Okay. For the rhetorical functions of the citation, I will not use just only the Timson and the triple classification in my study, but I use, let me go back to this kind of the rhetorical functions. I use a Patrick functional framework here to analyze the text, and the Patrick one, Patrick classifications is quite, you know, comprehensive one and insightful one when we talk about the function of citation. The first one about the attribution. Attribution is like the words that used to attribute informations or the activity to source, like the word according to. But the citation that when we use to give the examples or, you know, to give the examples or to provide the examples to the reader, we use the word for examples or the word e.g. right here, and then you do the citation. That is the exemplification. Okay. For the further reference, this is like a triple one because we use the word see, but here in the examples, it's not in the bracket. The word statement to use. So once the writer to want to mention about the method used or the terminology used in that text or in that study, so they use this one statements. It can be classified into this function. Okay, and next about the application, yes, use to make a connection between the sources. Evaluation, you evaluate the source like this one, another problem in the author articles. So you can see that, you see right now that it's not just only about, you know, the publication years or the, you know, the numbers of the page number. No, it's not. Establishing link between the sources, like both articles, like here and there, and then you evaluate it to create a link between the different sources. And the comparisons, why this one say this and the other one say that. So you indicate the similarities and differences, and something like the author that you cannot that we cannot think about in the classification. So in my analysis, in my study here, I can see that again, like in the literature, we use a lot of attribution because we need to establish. I mean, in terms of the academic writing, we need to establish, we need to support the ideas, and we need to use the idea information from the literature. We need to acknowledge the activities that occur in some of the previous work, and we need to do, you know, to mention about the concepts as well, the concepts of the research as well, and somehow lead to the present study. And that's why, you know, this is like to establishing in the field that, okay, this thing is still important to discuss, and this thing is important to do the research or to do the writing or to write this piece of writing, blah, blah, blah. So that's why, you know, it's no doubt, it's not questionable that that's why the functions of attribution come first here. And you can see that a lot of instances here are lexical patterns that we can use here, like the study used to mention about the what things that you use in your research, following blah blah blah. So you use classifications of highland and sea, blah blah blah, right? Once you do the comparisons with the previous study, so you can use this kind of phrase thing, okay? And yes, for the back to the attribution function. So this is like the default citation functions. But the thing is that this kind of findings can show that, you know, most of the students cannot use or have some kind of like limitations in, you know, problematizes or criticizes or, you know, to make some link between, you know, that information to the previous text. And then they, the way that they comment the use, the way that they commented literature or the way that they commented information is quite limited as well. So that's why they have, you know, something like limitation in terms of the words that they use to refer to some functions. And the last one's about the writing stance here. Okay, this is quite I would say that the studies look at the multiple perspectives about the citation. So the last one's about the writing stance here. I will see, you know, the acknowledgement, distance, endorsement, context, category. Acknowledgements again come first, you see, for both the student writings and professional student writers and professional writers. But for the term distance, it means that, you know, you don't want to make to say that you are the one claiming, or you are the one that can be responsible for this kind of formation or the claim, because maybe you are still young in the field, or maybe you are a new researcher or something like that. Okay, but this is very interesting because for the article researchers or for the professional writers, they will use the endorse functions so much here, because they may contest, and they may they like to comment on it, comment for information, comment on the literature, comment from the previous studies, and evaluate it. And that's why, you know, I'm not surprised to see that the classifications, like the category like endorse and contest here occur quite, you know, quite frequently for the professional writers. But for the students, you see, they are not, maybe they're not so sure when they want to comment. They are not there to do, they don't dare to do so. And even though I try to encourage them to comment and evaluate the information. And again, it's come to the problems when they synthesize or evaluate the text, and to give the, to express the idea in the text. Okay, they just report their findings just only that. And this is, some of the, this is some of the instances or the lexical words that I can see from the citation, the word argue. Okay, now it's come to my last, my very last slides here. You can see that about the citation is not, we admit that it's just one of the important elements in the academic writing, right? But once we teach our students, or the way that we use, like between the L1 and L2 can be from the so many factors like background, how we instruct, or how we have been taught, something like that. Or even when we teach our students, this our instruction can have effect to the choice of the words that, on the choice of the patterns that our students use as well. And we commit, and I would like to say that for the L2 students, or the particularly for my study in the Thai context here, yes, again, they use a citation. They do the citation pretty much on the acknowledgement, to acknowledge or to support that the information in that text. But it's lack of the way that they can the way that they do the commentary, or they do the kind of evaluative comments on the in that text, comparing to the professional writers. So in this case, when we teach the student, it's just not like teach about the forms like according to or basis on in his studies, blah, 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 and with the citation. So we need to think about, the way that we teach the functions of the verb and the functions of the citation. What about the feeling or the meaning that the citation can express when we read the text or when the writer need to interact with the readers, something like that. So it's not just, you can see it from the Highlands and June 2019, you can see that the way that the academic write, the academicians write in the research articles have changed nowadays from the the dry one, like the one-way communication. Nowadays it's like the interactive, and you need to do that's come to our concerns about the interpersonal relationship between the writers and readers as well. So that's why that we don't need, we need to focus not just only about the structure form, but the functions of the citations as well. And the next one is about, not just about the writing, but what about the reading as well. So once it's in terms of the reading, we can, get some meanings from the intended intentions of the writer, or intended meaning that behind the patterns and the rhetorical functions that the writer used in their citations as well. So we need to see it, and once we create our writing, so we and we plan to comment it. So you will do it directly, and you do it, accurately. What's the meaning behind in that information, and the way that you do the comments can be useful and can be meaningful in your text. And the last one is about the citations. Once most is concerned that the citation maybe can avoid the plagiarisms, and the way that we do, the way that we do the to avoid the way that we do in our writing to avoid the plagiarisms is about the paraphrases, summarizing skills, right? So that's why these two skills, maybe you need to teach our students directly at the very beginning of the course, and the way they put that on, the way that they use their own words, the way that you summarizes, and not just only the summarize and change the word. Like I say, somehow we have to comment, somehow we have to evaluate over the information or the content when you do the citations as well. So this thing come into our concerns about the citation and the pedagogic applications as well. And that is, from the very beginning of my my sessions here about the citation. So you may think that it's very easy to do the citation, like names, year, the publication, or any of the formats of the format, like APA format or APA style format, or the MAR style format. Yes, like I say, that I will not touch upon on that thing, because it's like you can do it, and you can consult the websites or the available sources. But this is something that behind from the citation that you can think of when you do the citation, when you write your own text, and what about the function that citation can express in your text. And that is about the citation that I'm going to talk about today. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Assistant Professor Dr. Attapol Khamkhien, for giving us a constructive talk. And all right, everyone, it's time for the Q&A session. So if you have any questions or you want to discuss with the speaker more, you can use the Zoom chat box to send your questions. Or you can...
Thank you, Dana.
All right, or you can unmute your microphone now to share your ideas, or give comments or ask questions you may have right now.
Even I myself, when I do when I write up my articles, so I have a list of a list of words, a list of some phrases and the verbs that I can use in my text as well, because it's like once I see I read the text, I think before you do the citation, you have to read a lot. And that's where, that's why this is the way that we can evaluate and we can comment on the information and instances, not just only about the how you acknowledge what's going on in the field and what's this ongoing debate in the field, but the way that why that you use this, the way that why you use this thing, the way that you can use this kind of information to support the idea, that is very important in that way. Go to bed now, my dear.
All right, and
thank you, Chanachanawa. Here is a link to asset evaluation. Okay, thank you, Chantan. Thank you, Hazan. Thank you. My question, I see both tenses. Yeah. Okay. What is your idea on this? Okay. Yeah, this is a thing that I didn't mention in my talk, because it's not just only the way that you select the verbs, but the way that you select the tense as well. I would say that, most of the time that we select the tense like present simple tense, past simple tense, and present perfect to do the citation, right? For me, I would say that this is like the meanings of the tense and the way that we use the tense in general. For the present simple tense, we use the present simple tense to say that, okay, this is a fact, and this is something that we, in the field, or the people in the field accept it. It's occurred. You cannot avoid it, and blah, blah, blah. It's something like a fact. And, it's still, everyone accepts it, yes, present simple tense. Or maybe, you think that, very, the things that just happened, very recently, you can use the present simple tense to acknowledge that kind of idea. But what about the past simple tense? Once you read the text and you see that this kind of information is it's like maybe it's quite old, but it's useful for your writing, for your text. You need to mention it a bit, for example, to make some link with the other words. You can use a past simple tense, right? But for the present perfect, once you read the text and then you see that, oh wow, this idea is still ongoing debate, for example, it still have some gap for you to research it, for anyone to research it, and it's still lack some have some inconclusive answer. You can use the present perfect to mention that text or that information that could be. So that's why we have, as I can see, we have three most verb tense that we use. The first one, present simple tense, has second one, the past simple tense, and the last one is present perfect. And again, it depends from our evaluation. You see, if you think that this is a past information and it's quite old, it's obsolete, it's outdated, but still need to mention a bit, yes, you can use past simple tense. But if you see that it's still ongoing debate and it's required some, it needs for further information or for further investigation, you can use a present perfect in that. Yes.
All right, thank you very much, for your answers and fruitful discussion.
How would you encourage your student to confidently evaluate the literature and expect the stats? Then I think it is because the student writer tend to feel that there's nobody in the field. No, we still there. So they are not confident to criticize the public. Okay. Yes, it's come to the encouragement, and I would say that yes, we have to encourage a lot. The first thing is that I try to ask them that why you think like this and why you think like that. Maybe they can go back. This is from my experience. I mean, in the supervision, supervision with my students. I will ask them why you think like this or why you think like that. If they will give us some answers from that rating, I would say. But if they cannot provide or if they cannot, directly answer our question, I will ask them that you can go back And then you can see, you know, some related literature. And next time they come to me again, talk about this and what you think about that. Just only that. And once you think, because I would say that in my case, the student have to conduct the small scale study, and everyone who are everyone who is a researcher, like I myself and you yourself, blah blah blah, you are the one who expert in your study. So I think I would try to encourage them that, I mean my student, that you are the one who know well about your results. You are the one who read through all the information that you put in your text, so that why not you can comment on it. Why not you have this kind of exact answer to this, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have any, you know, if you cannot find any exact answers in the literature, you can say that maybe some kind of this, and you need to do the hedges. It's possible that it can be said that blah, blah, blah. That's another thing about the, you know, academic writing, hedging. Mm-hmm. Maybe we are not confident to criticize because we are new in the field, and we have some kind like strategy or techniques to do that hedging or the hedged language. Problem.
All right. Any other questions from the floor?
Maybe not. We need some lunch.
All right, and I believe that we have become more aware of the importance of citation, and we have learned more how we can present evidence or ideas with useful functions and patterns. Yeah, and we have also seen the insightful results from your corpus analysis. Yeah, I really like that.
I think we have one more question. Where the source has no author, you can cite the word as your own. No way. If you say that it's a source from the source of your information, you have to do it. Maybe like maybe you can say I bit, or you can say with. I think we have the format with any ellipsis. Use the ellipsis. I think APA. No, 6th edition and 7th edition styles have the format to do this with no author, or maybe with no publishers, something like that, or with no years of publication. Yes, we have the format to do so. I don't think we if you consult that source, so you cannot claim it that this is from your own. Okay.
All right, so yeah, thank you, Assistant Professor Dr. Attapol, once again for your fruitful discussion in the Q&A time. So we are almost at the end of the webinar today, and we would like to spend a couple of minutes taking a group photo, and I will share the form for the evaluation and e-certification once again. So yeah, please turn on your cameras and give us your lovely smiles, everybody. You've got
Ajahn Palapa, yes, you are in session, and you are the one who talked about the plagiarism, yes.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I have heard it a lot. And thank you. It's very informative session, Ajahn Tang.
You're welcome, Fan.
all right. Okay, so on 3, everyone. 1, 2, 3. All right. Can I have another one screenshot? Right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn Dutasat,นะคะ. You nod all the time and say, yeah, I'm with you all the time during the session. ขอบคุณครับทุกคนครับ. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, goodbye.
I'll share the link, the evaluation form with you, and I'll share the QR code with you in a minute so that you can scan to access the form. Okay, so yeah, you can either click the link in the Zoom chat box or scan the QR code here on the screen. And please make sure you complete all sections in the form. The certificate request form is included in the last section of the evaluation form. So if you want the certificate, please carefully check your information when you fill in the form. And your certificate will be emailed to you within 1 week. So yeah, please be patient with us because we are taking time to ensure accuracy. And yeah, the evaluation form is now open and it will be disabled after the webinar ends. I think there are 8 pages in the evaluation form. So yeah, I'll be with you until you have done it. And yeah, and this is the end of the webinar today, as well as the Lead to webinar series this year. So yeah, please stay tuned for the updates as we are celebrating a 36-year anniversary and beyond. And we are very thrilled and very happy to initiate more projects that will be contributed to our professional community. Connect with us, connect with the world. And for any updates and information, please visit our website at www.lit2.ac.th or visit our Facebook page, Language Institute Thammasat University. And don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So probably you need a few more minutes to complete the evaluation forms. And on behalf of Language Institute Thammasat University, we would like to thank our invited speaker so much for your great talk and fruitful discussion. And thanks all participants today. I'm sure that we have gained and exchanged not just today, but all the webinars this year. Is an excellent way to encourage and maximize our professional development. So yeah, hope to see you all next year, and stay safe and take care, everybody. Bye for now, everyone. So you may leave the meeting if you have finished your form, finished filling your form, or if you have any question or you need any more support from us, so please feel free to let us know.
Thank you, Nongnat, for being host today.
Yeah.
You spent all this morning with me.
Right, I think everyone has completed the form. Oh yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nakam Ajahn, and
Thank you,
everybody once again. Hope to
Yeah,
see you all next year.
yeah,
Have a nice day. Have a nice
yeah.
weekend.
You too. Thank you, thank you. See you at Thammasat, okay, next year.
All right.
Bye, Hamadi.
Thank you very much.